that is the Gold Cup hero. Two of the most admirable chasers you could possibly wish to see.
Relentless, remorseless, and pounding Cheltenham Star into submission.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Racehour podcast, brought to you with our friends at Bookmakers.co.uk. It's me, Dean Ryan, in the towers of Bookmakers.co.uk. Diarmuid Nolan is here.
Hello.
Good to have you, Dermo. And Dave Weldon is back. Dave.
Hello.
Happy days. Okay. Did we all enjoy the Dublin Racing Festival?
Yeah, it was superb. Always is, and it's just getting stronger every year, Dean, isn't it?
Seems to be. Third year, biggest crowds. They got the ground just about right. Couple of defections on the Saturday, but actually it did detract from Saturday.
A little bit, yeah. You could kind of tell the fact they were watering up until 11:30 on the Sunday. That they didn't want the same thing to happen again.
Well, what can they do?
No,
I think they did a great job. I thought the ground was fine.
We personally had a match on Sunday morning, and the breeze was so strong. It was gale. It was
strong winds. Yeah,
you can't predict that. Like, you can predict all the rain you want and water accordingly, but
it's a big piece of real estate.
Yeah,
and they obviously got it right some bit, the fact that Delta Work and Presenti Percy boat rang on Sunday. So I think it's trainers and stuff try to put an awful lot of pressure on this. People get delirious about it. There's very little they could do. They put down as much water as they possibly could, and just these freakish things happen.
Let's give a few kudos to connections of the likes of Honeysuckle that ran, because easily she could have been pulled if they didn't want to go risking her on.
Apparently it was a very close call as well. Like, it wasn't up until an hour or so before the race that they decided they were going to definitely run. So fair play to them.
They did, and they got the desserts. They got their result desserts. Yeah, they got their
just desserts.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. All right, let's talk about a few of the horses then that won at Leopardstown. We're going to do that. Then we're going to have a quick look at the weekend racing to come. Newbury and Warwick, of course, likes of Altior, back on course. And then we will do, as we do in the run-up to Cheltenham, we'll take a look at some of the novice chases in the final part of this week's Racehour podcast. Okay, let's kick off with latest exhibition. Fantastic for Brian Cooper, who's on a redemption mission after, let's say, a bit of a fall from grace, and Paul Nolan to have latest exhibition. And Dermo, I'm going to come to you first, because you were very keen on Fury Road on last week's podcast, and I think Keith's got a blog up now on bookmakers.co.uk. I'm not really sure what to make of that run.
Yeah, not at all. I was very disappointed. It was an odd race. First of all, the right horse won it, not detracting from that horse whatsoever. Paul Nolan and Brian Cooper, etc. It's just a terrific story. But just that, Elixir Danae pulled a head off himself and was still only 6 lengths behind in fifth. Fury Road couldn't get into it, but just Davey never looked happy the whole way around with him. Whatever was wrong on the day, whether he didn't like the ground or whatever else, they kind of couldn't seem to find a problem with him. So he might just not be good enough. But Keith was saying in his blog that he's not too keen to give up on him, and I'm not either. I really like latest exhibition, but I couldn't be backing him for an Albert Bartlett either, really. As much as he has jumped way more, in my estimation, he's going to be a cracking horse. But it is just Elixir Danae pulling the as I said, like a cart horse around, and still managing to to not be out of sight at the finish would just make you question that whole race, really. I think Fury Road just didn't turn up, which can happen. He's plenty of time now to be freshened up by Cheltenham. So it's an interesting race. The right winner, fantastic story, but form wise, I'm just not sure about it.
I quite like the form, Dave.
I'd have doubts with it with Cobbler's Way so close and behind.
Yeah.
Like, he was beaten out the way by Andy Dufresne in a maiden hurdle. So great performance, great win. It was very stylish to the eye, but when you look at the back form, it doesn't look great. But he can improve again. There's no doubt
that's
he
because
can
no
improve
one likes
again.
Andy Dufresne, but like if you look, you're saying look at the form of the horses behind it, but maybe only one of the big three performed on the day, and that's why we got the winner we got. But he's beaten Andy Dufresne. He ran very close to Abracadabras over the wrong trip. He's beaten that C, who everyone seems to think is quite good.
My point is, though, like, the second was 11 lengths behind Andy Dufresne, whereas latest exhibition is only 2 lengths behind.
Yeah, but latest exhibition didn't have to go and win by 15 lengths. Just had to go and win. I think it's a right old shout for Albert Bartlett.
Oh no, definitely. But you just still have to crib why Elixir Danae was so close to them after doing what he did the whole round. Like, he
Probably
literally
just a very good horse.
I don't think he is that good. So it's if if you're going to respect, or obviously say the latest exhibition, who ran a brilliant race, he is an Albert Bartlett contender in a huge way. I just couldn't back him. But Alexia Dane getting that close for me just kind of puts a bit of a question mark on it, that's all.
Well, shout out to myself and Stephen Cass, where not a lot went right over the Dublin Race Festival.
Yeah.
We were very keen on
Would you back Time Hill or latest exhibition?
I'm a big Time Hill fan.
Yeah.
Big Time Hill
even
fan.
at the 9-2 Time Hill, 8-1 latest exhibition.
Still probably be a Time Hill fan over the pair of them. But I think that's the best of the Irish. The Irish don't have a better horse for the Albert Bartlett, in my view.
I'd agree with that, yeah.
And if they do, you're going to have to make some excuses now for likes of Fury Road.
100%,
where you don't have to make any for latest exhibition, just gone through his program
he's
and
a
got
nice
it all
progressive
spot on.
horse going forward.
Yeah. And fingers crossed for Paul Nolan and Brian Cooper. They can have another big day at the festival for them. I wouldn't begrudge them that at all. Chacun Pour Soi, I've heard it actually discussed already, and someone stole my line, although I never said it to them, so I have to.
You can't believe
It's
it.
going to sound like I stole it now, but it's my line. So when Chacun Pour Soi, when I won the Dublin Chase, and the move that it made mid-race, I thought we were going to get a masterminded style performance, and that was my line, right? Didn't quite do the masterminded performance that I thought I was going to get, but what it did do was stamp himself as certainly the best this side of the water, I think. Chacun Pour Soi really impressed me. Jumping was so much slicker. There seems to be all sorts of talent under the hood there. Min is as good a yardstick as you're going to find in this division. And if he'd have lengthened to the line, he'd be very short for a champion chase. He's not actually that short for a champion chase, Dave.
No, I think it's pretty fair. He's probably the right price now. Like the race kind of fell apart a little bit.
Well, I thought it was run perfectly for Chacun Pour Soi.
It was a relay.
That's fine. They're not going to go slower than that in a champion chase.
A Plutard was an on-runner.
Yeah.
CLS Emery fell at the first.
Yeah.
So like you would have liked to see where them two ended up in runs, and then you'd have a fair barometer of how far Chacun Pour Soi has come on, given he was beaten by a Plutard at Christmas.
Yeah.
So it kind of fell apart in that sense. But he was a good winner. He'd done all he can, really. Like Min would have been staying on again at the line. Will he have that again in a champion chase? Someone coming back at him who stays further? Maybe Altior. Definitely stays further as well.
I thought I saw the ears flicking at the finish.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like it kind of fell apart. He didn't really go with him when he made that mid-race move.
Yeah.
So like he could probably upgrade it a little bit. He's not for me though. I don't buy into this hype about him at all.
I'm going to go on the record as saying Chacun Pour Soi and Altior both beat Defi in a champion chase, Stemmer.
I'd agree with Altior. I don't really think Defi's camp would be overly worried by that performance. I think that the champion chase, obviously over 2 miles, it's all quick, it's all pace, it's all class, but Altior, etc., do prove that you also really need to see that trip out. Checking for me, he didn't hit the line well enough at all. As you said, his move mid-race was awe-inspiring. Everything else was really silky and smooth, but there was still that moment jump the last where you just kind of thought to yourself, I wonder will Min catch him. And I think jumping the last, he'll be there bang there because he's far too good not to be. He's a really, really good horse, but I'd be very, very worried now if Defi and Altior started hitting with a wet sail.
Well, this is the thing. See, you're going to have stalkers in this race. I think ideally Chacun Pour Soi would like to stalk something, and then Defi has to stalk something, and Altior could probably do whatever Nico de Boinville wants if Altior is ready and ripe. But they could all potentially be stalking something absolutely terrible. Come to the second last, and then what do you get? I'm not a Defi fan for 2 miles. I'm a massive Defi fan, but not for that race.
Yeah, it's just he's proven this year that he's an aptitude for it. As I said last week, I still think Altior has the strongest form by a mile going into this race. Defi Desai has put away an aging yet legendary Undeso twice this season, so I'm not sure on that form, but saying that if he is there 2 out, he's travelling with them, he will come up that hill just like Altior, really.
This was the question. You can both answer it. If Undeso was in the Dublin Chase, where did it finish?
Third.
How far back? Good bit back?
5-6 lengths behind.
Further back than against Defi a couple of times?
Similar enough. I'd say he'd be 3 or 4 lengths behind Min, would be my guess, to be honest.
It'd be very close between him and Min, I think, on the line.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was saying 4 to 5 lengths. I Min is at the moment Undeso 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We banged there, but just now he's 12 years old.
But that's what
he's
Defi's
waning.
got. That's what Defi's got in the locker this year.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, Chacun Pour Soi are definitely in the picture for a champion chase, and there's plenty of arguments to be made about these. Really nice stamp of a horse is Notebook. I'm no fan of Cashback, but it was a good run in second place. But Notebook, I always felt just really messed about a little bit just because of his grossness and talent that he has. Also, I'm not sure the ground would have been completely ideal for Notebook given the size, but Dave, Notebook sits at top of the Arkle table by rights, but on hurdling form, like you can't back a horse like that in an Arkle.
Well, he was right 130 over hurdles.
Yeah, they can't win an Arkle.
Yeah, can't win an Arkle based on
Special Tiara was 112 over hurdles and won a champion chase. This is Henry de Bromhead. He's a completely different animal.
Did it win an Arkle?
That's champion chase. This is the Arkle.
Yeah, but he didn't win an Arkle. He won grade 1.
Did it win the Arkle?
Best hurdler wins the Arkle.
That's nonsense.
We love nonsense.
Absolute nonsense.
On the hurdling form, Notebook's got miles to find.
It's a different. Henry de Bromhead isn't a normal creature to be dealing with. Like he doesn't train his horses like every other trainer does.
He's won Arkles.
Size in Europe, but that was completely different because he was just a freak of a horse.
What was size in Europe's hurdle rating?
He was a very high because he was a very, very.
He went into a champion hurdle favourite, remember, and done the back.
But trends are useless when it comes to horses like Notebook.
It's in the stat pack, Dermo.
What?
It's in the stat pack.
In the stat pack.
In the stat pack, yeah.
Look, I'm really impressed with Notebook. But just beating Cashback by 3/4 of a length, actually I'd mark it up a bit further than that. I think he was a fair bit better than Cashback.
Yeah, he was tossing in front.
So Notebook's done everything right. Another one where the prep's gone perfect. Lowered a few colours at Christmas. Gone and got the job done in this ERSG Arkle, and goes to the Arkle as favourite. And it's got to be in the picture. I just think I'm going to have to take it on, damn it.
I can completely see that, and again, whilst at times I find trends useful, I think there's plenty of occasions where there's just a reason as to why a horse hasn't fulfilled that. I mean, this horse was clearly earmarked for fences and has fairly well just has kicked on for them, just like Special Tiara did, as I said. So it's just one of those things where I would not be ruling Notebook out because 10 previous winners were all rated higher over hurdles. It's nonsense. But I would agree with you. I think the English horses in this division are actually being overlooked a bit as well. Leaving the track because I'd backed Cashback, I thought Cashback's the one to take out of that race. You know, it was his first day at big school. He really would have learned. But I watched it back about 3 times since, and yeah, what you were saying on the course is completely right, Dean. Notebook, I thought, was just kind of wavering at the end. He was messing, really. He didn't need to do more. Yeah. The one thing, the slight jumping to the right is still a concern with him as well. He was straighter, absolutely no doubt, but there is just still a semblance of that. In an Arkle, you won't get away with that. I don't like Factor to the Reeford. There's no reason at all in the world for him to overturn that form. With Notebook, especially now that there's no weight being given away, and after that, like, it's just the Arkle is just a very, very difficult race. I probably will be landing on Bruno Pastor maybe.
Well, we'll talk about it in the last part of this podcast, so we'll
it's
come up where we come up with.
The Irish race is just Notebook. I probably will be taking him on, Dean, but that was still a very, very good performance. Was good, and a great day for Rachel Blackmore, because the next horse we're going to talk about is Honeysuckle. And given that the Racehour is kind of sponsored by Honeysuckle in lieu of until someone else steps in, Honeysuckle did exactly what I think the Racehour wanted to do, which was maintain a winning record, but do it in the style of "we're going to the mares." She was look, she's not getting the praise she deserves, I don't think.
She was tough as old.
She was tough as old boots.
Brilliant.
As well as her first time going left-handed, her first time meeting horses over that pace, her first time going 2 miles properly. You know, she will have learned an awful lot for that.
Jumped a bit like a piano a couple of times.
Yeah,
but like that's fine by me. Yeah, and her jumping will improve all for that as well. When she had to, she pulled out the big jumps as well. That Darvis Star is probably just improving, and Petit Mouchoir doesn't get the respect that he deserves either, because he was only 4 lengths behind Bouvardere at Punchestown last year as well. So you know, he's a horse who does consistently carry that form through.
Good yardstick.
Yeah. So saying all that, she has to go mares. We're all on for the mares. So please God, Dean, she does end up there, and really that performance wouldn't scream to anyone that she should be going for a champion hurdle.
No, but do you know what it taught us? That is, if she gets into a battle in the mares, she can get headed and come back. I love that, because she's just slamming everything else before that. Dave, can Honeysuckle win a champion hurdle? Hopefully she's not going there though.
The champion hurdle is going to would suit her more around Cheltenham than that race did on Saturday. Sorry,
Yeah, that's fair.
because it's more of a stamina test as it is as much of a speed test up the hill. And she probably wouldn't have to make it either. Probably something to take her on. So I hope she goes to Mares, because I think that's the race for her. I think that would suit her down to the ground. But I wouldn't be surprised on the back of that if they went to Champion Hurdle.
Maybe a couple more drop out of that Champion Hurdle picture as well, and they might want to go and roll the dice. And perhaps the Benny de Dieu situation will influence them.
The problem with that race is she's probably only ran to a rating of 139. You're taking the Mares at Downs with Diarmuid, who was 146. So like that's not good enough to win a champion. It's probably not good enough to win a Mares either. But we know she's better than that. So. Yeah.
Let's talk about Diarmuid quickly, because Gavin Cromwell had this thing running around in the summer months and
started up 101.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
he's an incredible trainer, and he is saying that this is going for the Champion Hurdle. Touch wood, that's where they're going to go.
He's been saying that for a while too. I mean, look, this horse is clearly talented. I remember in his bumper debut he was well backed, and then did the whole drifteroo just before it as well. Like they've been talking about this horse for quite a while. Knocked up a serious sequence of wins, and that run behind Envayal and Abacadabras as well. That was franked as well, because Envayal and Abacadabras were kind of comfortably went away from him. So regardless of what you think of anything else, for him to finish ahead of Petit Mouchoir at this point in his career, that's a huge one. Huge.
Massive. Like, I don't blame them at all for rolling the dice. Like, they priced out handicaps.
Oh no!
Handicapped.
Has to go. Yeah.
Like, so that's what a story. Like, if that can place in a Champion Hurdle, which why not? It's only going to keep improving. I think
he was beaten in a maiden hurdle at Wexford on Paddy's Day last year.
Jeez, I probably backed it. No, I didn't. Sometimes the curse is all encompassing. I think we might have seen the Cheltenham bumper winner in the last on the Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. After the performance over 2 mile 4 on soft ground beforehand, you wouldn't have thought that the horse would have been capable to travel like that. And whoever beats him wins the Champion Hurdle anyway.
Seems very good.
Yeah, it's great for Jeremy as well. Sire has a good record around O'Connor. Like, I always associate Jeremy with O'Connor, and then have appreciated now. Could be another good one for him.
Okay, that's appreciate it. If anyone's wondering who we're talking about, on to the Sunday. Do you know what? Aspire Tower is probably the first one to talk about. It's not on the list, but would have won that juvenile hurdle in my view.
I think so. I think Rachel probably saved a bit for after the last coming down to it, and would have went away again, I think. And Cerberus, now the thing with Cerberus was an absolute dog after the last, completely dodged it.
Just seems to not like finishing a race.
Didn't want to finish the race out at all. And Waverley came and nabbed him and went away winning. But I think Aspire Tower, you don't know, my point of that is you don't know how Cerberus would have ran with Aspire Tower beside him. Would you continue running to the line
after something like that happens? And that perhaps happened. A Waverley Sea is solid. Like,
he's grand, but the Irish juveniles are brutal, and
apart from maybe Aspire Tower,
but even that, All Mankind kicked Cerberus out of the way much easier than Aspire Tower was going to, regardless of what Cerberus did after the last. Wasn't going to put him away comfortably. Cerberus had him worried. All Mankind rather kicked him out of the way at Chepstow. So I think the English juveniles are just far clear this year.
Going to be some hell for leather exercise.
They're going to kill each other.
Okay. Well, I mean, look, if you are interested in Aspire Tower, it's got to run again. You can't go to Cheltenham off the back of that, and they might not have a race for it.
Don't need to have a race for it, really.
No, they'd have to go there.
That would be that would put me off to all intensive purposes. To be honest,
they probably have to travel to get a race.
Yeah, I think. If I was them, I'd go and find one, because you do not. That was a horrid fall. Thankfully everyone okay, which is good. There was murmurings around Asterion Falange being pretty good when winning the Chanel Farmer Novice. I think that was one of the most impressive performances you see in a Grade 1.
I thought it was a monstrous performance. Yeah, I mean, Easy Work is a good horse now.
I don't think much of the second and third, to be honest.
No, Elliot has much better horses at home than Easy Work, but Easy Work was just the one that kind of went. But Asterion Falange, it was the pace that he managed to keep. It was the how well he jumped. You could just picture him doing maybe kind of what Champagne Fever did that time in the Supreme. You know, you just picture him go and just not come back. He's a serious horse. I think it's between him and Abacadabras now for that Supreme. I don't rate much else in it, and I think this horse, as much as I love Abacadabras, you could just see this horse now kind of staying on past them all, and I just think he's an absolute machine. This talk as well about Shiskin, that he might end up going up and trip because of Shiskin. Shiskin won a nonsense of a novice hurdle over in the UK, and then you've got these esteemed judges over in the UK saying that this horse should go up and trip because of Shiskin. Asterion Falange has won now a grade 1, so unless Shiskin comes out and does something like that, he's running over 2-3 on Thursday anyway.
Yeah.
But unless he does come out and shows that he's an absolute superstar, well then this is the horse that should be holding all the cards, because he'll take a lot of stopping in a Supreme Din.
Yeah. What did you make of it, Dave?
Yeah, it was a great performance. I thought it was probably one of the performances of the weekend up there. I would appreciate it. Like, it looked like he just jumped in, turned the bend, the Leopardstown. He came in off the M50 there and just cruised by them way up the road.
I watched it, and it sounds ridiculous, but I thought that'll win Narcle.
Yeah, he has that shape about him, like, but he does.
But we've got a while to wait.
Yeah, but
I might see if I can request.
Like, he was very good. Like, all the money was for Easy Work, and I don't know that was well backed enough. Like, went off 4-1 with no form really in the book, but Easy Work went off 5-4, something short like that. Like, it was a very good performance. And I would think he looks a stayer as well, though. Like, he kind of looks like 2 mile 5 might be his bag.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see what Shiskin does. But like, you're giving out about Shiskin there when we backed the Angel's Breath off a lesser performance.
That's very true. No, it's not about. I'm not giving about the horse. He could be an absolute superstar.
I know.
Shiskin.
We'll find out more this week about Shiskin.
Yeah.
This one's gone and won a grade 1, so it's a bit unfair to start putting it in the back number, I think is what you're saying.
That's it.
They have
That's
another
exactly
horse.
it.
But Shiskin might be superior.
We'll get on to it later in the anti-post preview, but I think all the novice races are very muddly, bar probably the Ballymore with Envoy Allen, but the rest of them
that one's a closed off.
They're all
closed
up
off
in the air,
job.
like,
and in fact, that Abracadabras and Envoy Allen, by not running this weekend, just got boosted everywhere.
Yeah,
pretty much.
that's it.
Like, that's all you need to know. Okay, well, let's talk about the one that raised the roof in Forheen. And Willie Mullins said that this was Forheen's Gold Cup really, and not to think about Cheltenham. And I would completely agree with that. He's brilliant. He's incredible, and he beat Easy Game, so that isn't form you want to take forward too far, but he probably can beat anybody if he's Forheen on his day, and that's what he was. Whether they can do that again at Cheltenham, I'd be sceptical, but God, I'd love it if they did.
Yeah, it was great. Like, he jumping wasn't amazing, but it was economical and it was good.
His jumping was terrible.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was terrible. Like, he got to A to B with a good bit of efficiency. Like when you compare him to Battle Over Dying, who jumped super. Like, he was saving all the ground up the inside. It was good, really good ride with Paul Town as well, I thought, just to kind of get him there.
Imagine the pressure, unbelievable
I
pressure.
don't think he sees 2 mile 5 out well, and he just got him there. And Easy Game is a stayer. I think Easy Game will probably go the RSA on the back of that, and will have a chance, I think. And he just kind of got him there, had him enough in reserve to get him to the line. And it's probably his Gold Cup. He's probably off for his life that day.
I think as long as he stays right, they're going to keep going. But
probably run Punchestown, and that'll be it then, I'd say.
I'd go Fairy House or Punchestown.
Sorry, they probably go. That's the race for him. The Powers Gold Cup or whatever it is now.
Novice thing, yeah. Why not do that? I mean, what an incredible story. I think everybody to a man, including me, said, what the hell are you doing running Forheen over fences at this age?
We said it here on the Racehour.
I'm sure, I've thought it, I've definitely said it, and I stand by it like crazy, but not crazy.
No, it's work. So look, emotionally, first of all, an amazing day. One of the best days I've had on a race course. The emotion and everything else around the place was just phenomenal. Peter Welch from Bookmakers at Cottage UK giving it socks as well up the running with him, and it was an amazing day. I think Coley, when you look at it, I don't think he should go to Cheltenham. I think you've got a horse there who was rated 174 over hurdles, wasn't he? And now he's coming down to just about see off Easy Game, who's 147 over hurdles. So whilst obviously it's an amazing achievement, he's an amazing horse, it was an amazing day. I can't use the word amazing again, but it's still, you just wouldn't like to see him going around Cheltenham. I think the Fairy House and then a goodbye at Punchestown would just be amazing.
Keep him for Ireland, right?
Yeah.
And keep him for a couple of Irish festivals, and where it doesn't have to get on a boat, and all the little things that can go wrong are lessened.
100%.
And let's get this 12-year-old to give us another couple of hurrahs, because it's just incredible.
He's an amazing horse. And the way he saw out to the line, you wouldn't even really you'd give him a sparing campaign, but you wouldn't be rushing to retire him off the back of that
No,
either. You
no,
know, you
Jesus,
just
no.
wouldn't. He
Look,
wanted every yard of it. Like
me and you were there, and the whole hullabaloo after Forheim won, and the reception, and the crowds around the parade ring, and all the talk about it, and everyone almost in disbelief, and there were tears and all sorts of stuff going on. The following race was the Irish Gold Cup, and it was almost like, what race is it up next?
You said it.
Everyone forgot what was going on.
the horses went.
And then you
I
had,
didn't see the horses go around the parade ring.
well,
I didn't
we
see
were
them.
in the parade
We
ring.
were in the parade ring.
I
yeah.
never saw them. Because everyone was talking to each other. No one could focus on what was going on. I don't know how a jockey comes out of that. I don't know what Paul Townend, obviously, then what did he finish second in the Irish Gold Cup on Kenboy after that? But I mean, where's this head at? Everyone in the crowd's head was all over the place, and then suddenly the Gold Cup was like, oh, I wonder what will win this. But actually, that was the feature. We were treated to the continued progression of Delta work in the Irish Gold Cup, beating Kenboy, who I think came forward a bit on the previous run. Again, maybe Stephen Cass was right, but he's not gone at the game, finishing second in the Irish Gold Cup though. But his jumping hasn't quite come together yet. I wouldn't be writing him off just now. And Presenting Percy also, I think, came forward as well. So it looks like they all stepped up on previous runs.
They did. Delta Work has just proven though that he's just behind Albin Photo as far as the Irish contenders go. Presenting Percy was off for his life. You could see by the way that
he wanted to win.
Davey rode him and he just wasn't good enough.
Put that to win. I don't think you can ride it much differently.
He's not the same horse. No, he was given a perfect ride.
The one thing you can't be sure about is how tuned, how fit,
how much is left in him.
But it might be a bit more to come.
Again, it's complete guesswork. He's had 3 runs now this season, and each time getting to the last, he's got there, and each time it's emptied. So unless there's a serious amount left in him, which I just don't see why you'd leave an Irish Gold Cup behind you. They're not this targeting. It's not a handicap that he's going for here. It's a Cheltenham Gold Cup, so winning that race would only have aided all of them. So I think the suggestions that he's being left with a load of work on is just not true.
It's hopeful more than
anything else.
At this point,
Kenboy's jumping and improved, but he's never ran well at Cheltenham, and I don't think he is a Cheltenham horse. Now he hasn't ran there enough times to completely rule him out, but he doesn't strike me as a horse, as we've said before, who will enjoy that. Delta Work is the one. He still has that mistake left in him, as Keith Donoghue said in his blog, and I completely agree with him. That was one hell of a ride from poor old Jack Kennedy, who obviously half an hour later his femur was broken and he's out for 6 months. But it would have been very easy when Davey got up his inside to follow Davey and to panic. But Jack didn't. Jack sat there and let him go, and then jumped the last and barreled away. Very interesting now. Who do you think will ride Delta Work in the Gold Cup? It's completely up in the air, isn't it?
I'd be amazed if Presenting Percy turns up, Davey doesn't ride, because he's
very loyal.
His loyalties are strong as much as he'll want to ride a Gold Cup winner.
Puppy Powers on
translation.
The only two that I was thinking was Keith Donoghue obviously has ridden him this year, but when there was a grade 1 at Christmas time and they needed to find someone, they turned Don Champagne Classic to Mark Walsh. So I'm wondering if that could end up being the case, because Mark Walsh does not have a Gold Cup ride, does he?
Rachel's got one.
Monday,
yeah.
Is there a
Dickie
McManus yoke in
one.
it? They kind of tend to stay in Ireland, really, don't they? Apart from Mackay the odd time.
True. Yeah. Do you know my view on it is like Delta Work's good, Kenboy's good, Presenting Percy's good. They're all good, and you could almost throw a blanket and maybe run that race another day, and one of the other ones would have picked the other one.
I think if Davey had that race back, he'd ride it differently. He hit the front.
You do think so?
I don't think so. At Christmas though, Dave, he did the complete opposite, and the horse still didn't win.
What do you think?
I think he would have held on a little bit longer and let Kenboy go on a little bit more. He thought Kenboy might go with him, I think, and Kenboy kind of emptied and then rallied again.
Yeah, potentially.
That's fair.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of backing up my view in that I think if you just run that race again today, you might get the same 3, but you might get them in slightly different order.
Yeah. I think if Townend had that race back, say Townend hadn't won on Faheen half an hour beforehand, he probably just goes off and leads and tries to make all. Whereas he kind of took a lead this time. But like Kenboy is a fodder waiting to happen in the Gold Cup. I don't think he'll complete.
Yeah,
well, that's probably.
And they were all there at the last. They were all hunted into it, and I just think the best horse won again. And I think I do disagree with your earlier point, Dean. I think if you run this race 10 times, I think Delta Work beats them 9.
Do you?
I think he's just a much better horse than them.
Okay, for me, there just wasn't enough between them for me to be confident to say that. And a brilliant ride by Jack, who unfortunately, as we said, is now going to miss what goes on for the rest of this season.
Jack kind of fell into that whole thing where, and it's completely unfortunate circumstances, and it's like had just won the Gold Cup. He's hunting around on the back of a handicap, and that has to pick on. So you kind of think maybe I should have given up that ride and gave it to someone else, just to mind yourself a little bit.
You'd always think that, wouldn't you? But you just
It's
you're
hindsight,
not
it's
going to do it,
hindsight,
really, are you? Like,
like that's picked on. He was not a good jumper, and he showed that again. Like,
Hey, Ruby got to that stage towards the end of his career where he didn't bother.
Jack's 20. Hope he didn't start that just yet.
But like, geez, Jack's gonna have to start minding his body. Is this the fourth break?
Yeah.
Fourth break and the second of his femur, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's brutal. Like,
It's desperate. Jack, we wish you well. Let's talk about Itchy Feet, probably the only runner we want to pick out from the UK one, a grade 1 for Ollie Murphy. I think it's his first grade 1, which is pretty remarkable. Nice horse, ran well in the Supreme, has now gone and franked the promise that was there and won it on merit. I think people were a bit shocked. Maybe the price would tell you that they were a little bit shocked they got it done, but they'll have plenty of options at Cheltenham. Lorena was in the UK as well for that, and maybe all back to the drawing board there.
I'd pull up stumps with her for the year and do a couple of exploratory tests and stuff like that.
it's completely right.
They could sweeten and go hurdling or something, but
she didn't look right at all. Like, she didn't travel in the race. I was watching the race back on Sunday night. She didn't travel in the race at all. She didn't jump well. She jumped them big. It's not as if she jumped them like a hurler and went through them. She jumped them big and over jumped all of them, like, and then
afraid of them, I think.
And then got back into contention and then just fell away again. I thought
the engine is guaranteed. It's just maybe fence is just.
I thought Itchy Feet was very good. I thought he well deserved victory. And Ollie was saying after the race that he tried to turn him into a champion hurdler, given how bad champion hurdler was looking this year. And then he just said, no, this isn't for him. He's always going to be a chaser. Let's just go chasing. And he won. I think it was Warwick. He won a Mickey Mouse race. And then he's obviously come on miles for that. And he's a contender wherever he goes. He's a contender in Cheltenham.
It's great for Ollie Murphy. Like, if you talk about Thomas Darby, who's come back and now won a race pre-Cheltenham, and they've got options. They've got options with Itchy Feet, got options with Brewing Up a Storm. Ollie Murphy.
Andrew Brooks, the owner as well. Like, Andrew Brooks, the owner, puts absolute millions into the game, and that was his first ever Grade 1 win. So that was it was brilliant for him. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So a great weekend for him, even though he didn't bother with the DRF, but the DRF was great for everybody, I think. At what point does the Dublin Racing Festival become target in its own right? It's not there yet for me.
No, it's not there yet. The English, I think it's when the English probably just start respecting it a bit more as any a few runners over, because it's not just the Dublin Racing Festival that the English don't have the balls to send a horse over to. It's the whole year. Our prize money here is far better. They spend all year long complaining in the UK that they don't have prize money and that the prize money is brutal, and then Ludlow puts up good prize money and they send 3 or 4 runners up there. And these trainers are all stuck, like a lot of us in life. They're all stuck in the patterns that they followed for years, and it doesn't make financial sense that there's horses that won't act around Cheltenham that they could have sent maybe for the Ladbrokes hurdles, but instead now there'll be horses balloted out of the Betfair hurdle, and that could have easily come over here. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, I think trainers probably too much say in how a horse is campaigned.
Well, if I'm an owner and I'm running for 20 grand, but I could have run for 60 grand, and I win the 20 grand race and look at won the 60 grand race, I'm like, why?
You look at Twitter over the weekend, you see Keith, all the lads who owned that horse, Shoe Time, with Joe Chambers. Yeah. And they all had a right good Barney over here for the weekend, a bit of crack. Like that's, if I was an owner in the UK, I'd be like, yeah, get me over it. As much as if I was an owner in Ireland, I'd be saying, get my horse at Cheltenham. I don't care what race you're running, get it to Cheltenham. I want to go with the lads. Yeah. You know. Well,
that map's set in stone. I just wonder at what point it flips. It's only 3 years in, so it's going to flip at some point. I think it's prize money can't be ignored.
It's a month after Christmas. It's a month, 6 weeks before Cheltenham. It's in the right place for a stepping stone to Cheltenham. But to stand out on its own, I don't know where you put it. On its own, it's fine where it is as a stepping stone. But if you wanted to really stand out on its own,
but I suppose look,
there's no space after.
But do you want the winners that go on to Cheltenham from it? It's perfect for Cheltenham, and especially for horses like Le Bagourois, who doesn't act at Cheltenham, this is ideal. So I think maybe when the likes of Clan des Obeaux, finally Paul Nicholls gets it into his head this year, the horse doesn't like Cheltenham, next year he'll probably end up in an Irish Gold Cup.
I throw a few horses at you that perhaps could have come here, like Surname. Would have made sense if they're not thinking of Cheltenham. You know, that makes sense.
Left hand is a problem there, though, isn't it?
Waiting patiently, if it was fit and well, could probably have run here. You know, these are the horses that you're thinking, well, Cheltenham's not for me, but there's an equivalent.
100%.
Like, these are the kind of horses that you can almost map. We're going to target Ireland. They've got the Christmas meeting. They've got this meeting. And if we do go to Cheltenham off the back of winning 2 of them, then we've done all our business.
There's loads more money. There's 5 runners tomorrow at Turles. And the reason why I'm tracking that is because the boss is Oscar, who I love, for the Martin Pipe.
Sure.
Is running it. The winner gets 11 grand. Like, there's nothing like that in the UK.
Yeah.
And you're just wondering why with these horses that like aren't going to be superstars, why not just literally bring them over for a raid of turles like the Irish trainers do. The Irish trainers, in my opinion, are far more flexible, and that's why they're far more successful than a lot of the trainers over in the UK.
Well, the Williams team came, Harry Fry came,
Yeah.
a couple of horses.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
But like the Irish send a lot of horses over to the UK, mostly for the all weather and up north to Musselburgh.
Yeah.
They don't target UK big races really. Like Lorena went to the City Isles because there was no other way for it to run in Ireland.
Yeah.
Because he had all his horses.
Yeah,
There was
too
no
many
runner.
runners, yeah.
There was no runner in the Bedford Chase. No runner in Charlie Hall. There was no runner in the. Maybe one runner in
Yeah,
the.
where were the
King
Irish
George.
horses for the £1 million bonus, John?
Yeah.
Well, like we have well, that's
Actually,
a completely fair point.
Kenboy could have gone there, but didn't have an owner.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kenboy didn't have an owner
Potentially.
at that point.
He
but
never got on the boat for the Hennessy.
yeah, it's I
that's
suppose you're
the-
committing to travelling for 3 big runs for that. Like, you know, I can completely see that point, but the King George of Christmas, Ireland brings horses over to us. Service went to Chepstow. Ireland have plenty of runners. The Welsh Grand National,
Yeah.
Scottish Grand National, the
Yeah.
biggest races of the year. Ireland has runners.
Yeah.
Nicky Henderson had Santini this year, who didn't run until Cheltenham. Now,
Yeah,
please
yeah,
God,
I
it all
know,
works
I know, it
out.
doesn't fit
He could have ran a
programs,
Christmas
yeah.
Lexus.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
he could have easily ran, but they don't do it.
Look, I have the solution. So, if anyone at Leopardstown's listening, what you need to do is you put up one of these bonuses for an English horse that wins at the Dublin Racing Festival
Yeah, that's
and wins at Cheltenham, gets X. And if they win at Cheltenham and Aintree or Cheltenham and Punchestown, if you want to bring them back to Ireland again, HRI initiative if you want, throw money at it because owners will demand their trainers run.
Yeah.
And that's what works. And I said, why do the Irish not go for the £1 million? But you gave a pretty reasonable explanation. But that's where I was going. Why not do this? I know it's anti-Irish runners. Don't give them the same
you could do
bonus,
it.
but you got to attract the.
You could do a similar £1 million bonus. You could do the Savills,
Yeah.
the Irish Gold Cup, and the Cheltenham Gold Cup.
Yeah. Why not?
And that's your
Why
that's your
not?
3 ones.
Marketeers out there, like if this is what you
Yeah,
want,
that's right.
go and
£1
get
million
it done.
bonus, yeah.
You know, and if you want to just throw a 50 grand bonus into, I don't know, the owners who run placed here and place at the Cheltenham Festival, just bring the horses. Like,
Yeah, but
and that I think is how you make it stand out on its own. It's very available to everyone to do. Everyone's seen the success of this meeting in 3 years and a bounce. They'll only get it even more correct with the ground probably next year. In fact, the heavens might open and it won't matter.
Be called off.
That can happen. Yeah, that can happen. We'll give them a balloting out bonus if you got on the boat, you get your money back. Anyway, okay, cracking stuff. All right, let's take a break here. We'll come back and have a look at Newbury and Warwick over the weekend.
You're listening to the Racehour podcast, brought to you by bookmakers.co.uk. Check out bookmakers.co.uk each and every day for tips, news and the best odds for horse racing. Looking for a new bookmaker and the best sign-up offers in the industry? You'll find that at bookmakers.co.uk, sponsors of the Race Hour.
Okay, and welcome back to the Racehour podcast brought to you with our friends at bookmakers.co.uk. It's me, Dean Ryan, David Weldon and Diarmuid Nolan, all in the towers of bookmakers.co.uk. Let's take a look at some of the weekend action to come. Racing at Newbury and Warwick. We'll kick off at Newbury, Diarmuid, because I think you like one in the 150 there. It's the Betfair Bet and Play Handicap Hurdle, Class 2 over 3 miles. One for the team is the current market leader there.
Yeah, a Welsh Saint with a run here is very interesting. I stayed on very well behind a horse that I know Dave really likes as well, and Protectorate last time over a trip that kind of seemed too short was just staying on and on and on, up to 3 miles here, and at about 5 to 1 I think he's a cracking bet, but maybe just wait to make sure that he definitely runs.
Sure, I can see one is jocked up that I'm a big fan of, and that is AC Milan for Anthony Honeyball. Rex Dingle has got
Very
the
disappointing,
ride there.
hasn't he?
Oh, geez, just hit the crossbar a couple of times when it looked like it was all going to come good. Plumpton, and then, of course, that big run behind Stony Mountain where he got mugged at Haydock. I think after that, you could say pretty disappointing on heavy ground at Chepstow, but there is 131. I assume it's going to prove better than that. It hasn't done so yet, and a bit unlucky not to win a big pot already. So I'd throw that into the mix. But okay, Welsh Saint then for Dermo. The 205 at Warwick, decent Kingmaker Novices Chase. Obviously we're talking all about the UK horses for this, but it's a decent Grade 2 contest. Nuba Negra, Rouge Vif, Fanny and Destraval, Precious Cargo. Torpillo is the one that interests me at a reasonable price. And I have to forgive a few spins, but there's certainly the engine is there, and it doesn't have a lot to find actually on the lights of the market leader. So that would be my pick. Dermo, what do you like?
Yeah, it's a very tough race. Nuba Negra jumps beautifully, but the horse's resolution is always something that I've kind of questioned. And last time, we don't know how good that E-Spirit the Large is yet. He's another horse that kind of could kick on, so we don't really know that, but I'd be very, very keen to take him on just on that finishing effort, though. His jumping is something to be adored. Torpedo definitely has a chance, but the one I like here is for Andrew Brooks to have another good weekend. And Rouge Vif for me ran really well at Kempton over Christmas, bumping into a Global Citizen who's a very smart horse on his day, a horse who could surprise a few in the Arkle this season. This track will suit Rouge Vif an awful lot more. He's already jocked up with Gavin Sheehan on board. He's a good price, and I think he takes a lot of stopping here.
Yeah, he ran in the right races, didn't he? Behind Put the Kettle On and Global Citizen, as you say. So yeah, he's an interesting runner.
Yeah, he is. I like Nube Negra here myself. It's 7-4 though, is a bit skinny. He's a good jumper. Warwick will suit for that purpose. You need to be able to jump around Warwick, as Paddy Aspel would say. And he was 13 lengths ahead of Grand Sancy in the last day behind SB Roulage, and Rouge Vif was only a length and a quarter ahead of that horse the last day as well. Now, Grand Sancy obviously had the benefit of the run. That was his first run over fences. But he will take a lot of stopping at 7-4. I'd probably just take a chance on Precious Cargo, though, for win purposes only. He was beaten the last day at Newbury on heavy ground behind Moonlighter, who's in this race again, but has shown a good aptitude over hurdles and took the fence really well, winning the first time up at short odds in probably a race that wasn't great at Haydock. But I think he'll come on again for that Newbury run and actually been in a race, and I think he'll step forward again, and he's available 25-1 for the Arkle as well, so have a little bit on that as well. Or as Cass say with your related doubles.
Yes, follow the Cass plan. Okay, that's fair enough. Dingle is in there for Adrian Heskin, and John Quealy, of course, did run in the Notebook race, Leopardstown over Christmas. Miles behind, but if that wins, make Notebook
look even far better. Yeah,
look good. Okay, what about then the Betfair Exchange Chase? I'm pretty sure we can rip through this. The interesting runner has to be Dynamite Dollars. I don't know why Kalashnikov is going at this 2.5 mile a furlong trip, but they probably just want to find a race for it. And Altior is back, so Altior we expect will win 5-2 on.
Yeah, Altior wins, and the one bit of advice I'd give is that if you do fancy him for the Champion Chase, I'd back him before this, because if he wins impressively, which you'd imagine they will really want him to, he will
them out of the way.
Yeah.
He has to kick them out of the way, even if he does it in what we've got used to as Altior's style, in that just powers at the end and gets it done.
Yeah.
That won't be good enough for me if he does that way.
What do you want to see?
But he doesn't do it any other way, though.
He'll be 12 pounds clear on ratings. Like, he should be winning comfortably.
But he doesn't do that. He's just not the kind of horse.
He used to do that, so he used to be like, almost a fence ahead if he wanted to be, and Nico's holding on, and maybe you do that.
Yeah,
maybe
I think he needs to make a statement if he's going to be.
Dynamite Dollars is interesting to be back, isn't it?
And I read a piece Paul Nichols had up last night about, like, they're kind of trying to, on a fact-finding mission, see if he's a Champion Chase horse, if he's a Ryanair horse, or if he's a handicap horse.
Well, he gets £3.
He's not getting all that much.
He's a little bit more than that. But if he can get, imagine he beats Altior with Dynamite Dollars, he'll have absolutely just ended. That would be. I don't even want to go there. So Royals in there. Magic Saint, you imagine, is prepping nicely for a crack at the Grand Annual and that kind of stuff. Simply Ned is back. Maracuja's in there after getting slammed last time. Okay, good race, but we think Altior will win, and we probably want to see him do it well. Kalashnikov, I just don't know why that's in at 2 mile and a half a furlong, but that's where it goes. Okay, 240 at Warwick then. We're going to skip that one, I think, because I don't think anyone has a view on the mare's hurdle there. It's a good listed race. Indefatigable is the 11-4 favourite, and I'm glad I don't have to say that again. Then we've got the Betfair Denman Chase. Now, Native River is in here. If they put blinkers on up against Might Bite, imagine just careers away and wins again.
Yeah, as Paddy Aspel has pointed out before, though, is that there is only such an amount of times where these...
I know Paddy, if he was here, he'd be saying, I hope they don't put the blinkers
on him, because it would be a completely wasted bullet, as he always says. And you can see that point, horses first time out in blinkers. There's a reason why it's a tactic by an awful lot of people with it. It has a one serious bounce with him, and if they do waste it here on this race, it's very foolish. Might Bite nearly just for a fun bet would kind of interest me, but he does look gone at the game. But
jeez, that's my job to call that one out. I don't even want to back him this time around.
But Native River, as much as it would be great to see him here, I just don't see... A lot of people keep saying that he's a Gold Cup contender. Better horses haven't regained the Gold Cup, and I don't see why he would either.
Okay. Do you know what's really interesting here? It's the sideline. Dave, I'll ask you whether you think Native River will win in a minute, but Activio's in the race. who I thought ran really well at Cheltenham last year, finished in 7 and a bit lengths behind Beware the Bear in the Ultimate. Now he's on a 148. Do not finish too close.
That's exactly what I was going to say. This is a race that Native River's going to hack up in because everyone else is going to be minding their marks.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
But and rightly so, they're not going to be able to beat Native River anyway. But if Activio can finish 5th, and just get it to like a 146.
Just pull up after the last. Just don't give yourself a chance. Just run your race and pull up after the last.
Okay, fascinating. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of horses in there that you've got eyes on. Other things like Ratatouille UT's running in there for Mama and Dan Skelton of 104. So
what's that name again, Dean?
Ratatouille UT. What do you call it?
God.
It's not Ratatouille.
It basically is.
It definitely isn't. Ratatouille UT. Anyway, that's not the horse I thought we'd be talking about when we looked at the Betfair Diarmuid Chase, but all guns blazing, go for it. Why not? Okay, let's look at them before we come on to the kind of, the main feature at Newbury, which is that Betfair hurdle. The Warwick Castle Handicap Chase has Brelan Das top of the market with Bellamy de Picton. Two Tass, who's been back on the comeback trail and is running some pretty hard tasks so far. Gala Ball, Secret Investors, doubly declared. I can see it in there as well. Do we have a fancy for this 315 at Warwick?
Yeah, I kind of like it. Handicaps this time of year are funny because people are not going to go out and show their full hand. You have to be careful.
It's an opportunity if you want to, though, because
it is. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
So, like the horse I'm looking at is Cat Polly of the good Dr. Richard Newland's horse. He's only rated 138. He won his two of his last 3 races. 5-year-old could still be improving. He's around 8-1 there. I think he probably needs to win a race or get a few pounds to get into one of them competitive handicap chases at Cheltenham if that's what they want. And he should be running off a good weight. I think 8-1 probably underestimates his chances.
Demo?
I can see that angle there by Dave. Bellamy did picked on really interests me here. I think Venetia Williams just kind of tends to target these Saturday races. I don't think she ever tends to really hold back horses for the likes of a Cheltenham Festival or anything like that. And whilst the horse really badly flopped last time, has clearly just been freshened up now and off a mark of 144, even based on that waiting patiently form, etc., has ground to suit, has loved his track in the past, and I think Bellamy they picked on will take a lot of stopping here, Dean.
There's a horse in here that I picked out on the basis of the things that we were kind of alluding to in handicaps this time of year, and that's Fixed Rate, who I think they really fancied for Musselburgh last time. Got to get out in front. If a few of these aren't going hell for leather from the start, might get a bit of a freebie off the top end, but there's plenty in here that will want to be getting involved with that. Charlie Mann's got to enter there. I'd like the ground to dry a little bit, but price is fair at around 14-1 if you're looking to have a bet right now. Okay, the race where we might have a few more solid opinions. Mac the Man currently heads the betting for the Betfair hurdle, 3:35 at Newbury on Saturday. Not so sleepy. Some people are whispering, some people are being even louder about this horse for a champion hurdle. Got about 1.5 stones still to find, but it's hard to know what the ceiling is. Never Adapt, Ciel de Edge, Stolen Silver did you a favour, Demo, recently. The Banner King Rebel, who did us all a favour thanks to Paddy Aspel's confidence in Jamie Snowden's horse, and a host of others, 20 odd runners. Demo, I'll go to you first.
I think Mac the Man takes an absolute world of stopping here, Dean. Last time beat Protectorat, who's come out and franked that form all around him since. Won that race that day in the shape of a really progressive horse. Paddy Aspel was so confident that day. I never heard Paddy be that confident.
Really awesome.
And the horse has come out since, and obviously, hasn't come out since, but has been put away for this. Really
funny
well.
old race where it got beat the last day, though, wasn't it? With Stolen Silver kind of mugging him.
I mean, look, like Mac the Man obviously wasn't in the race that day. I mean, he's taken on the kind of the likes of them around him. I mean, you got the Banner King Rebel here as well from that form, and Stolen Silver. I think Stolen Silver's gone up a lot. The Banner King Rebel might turn that form around, but I'm not convinced that race is worth anything, to be honest with you. I think the English Supreme horses are all very overrated, and I don't like any of them really, to be honest. So Mac the Man, who arrives here from Handicap Company, the likes of Not So Sleepy, and the other one that I think is overpriced and is being backed like he will run is that Ciel de Nige as well at 10-1. He's the type that could just be really well handicapped, and his first run for Willie Mullins was in the Fred Winter when he finished third. Was bought by Jimmy McManus there afterwards. Really good and eye-catching run behind Janadil, who's from the same stable, who's a really good horse, and finished fourth behind him. He flopped at Christmas, but an awful lot of Willie Mullins' horses did, so I wouldn't be overly worried about that. He looks well handicapped at 10-1, but I've talked before about how often I can overthink races and will avoid the most common sense winner. I think Mac the Man is he just really is a common sense horse.
There's the potentially seriously well handicapped.
Yeah.
So that's clear. Dave.
Yeah, it looks a very good race. Looks a very good bet for hurdle. Going back a few years, you used to have very good races that were kind of nearly supreme trials. This could be up there with a Cheltenham trial in its own right. I'm going to take a chance though on two at big prices. The first one is Elixir to Nuts, who I think the world of. Was a very good novice last year. Kind of had a setback last year, and things haven't really gone right this year, but has been dropped to a mark of 146 now. And I think that is kind of where he is, and I think he could run to that. And if he does run to that, he'll take all the beating at about 20-1. And then another horse for Phil Kirby is Who Shot the Sheriff, who's Sean Quinlan booked to ride him at 20-1. Fell in a conditional race at Cheltenham at the start of the year, and has run well twice in better races since. And I think he could be competitive off 135 at around 20-1.
Okay. Good shouts. I'm a massive fan of Never Adapt. The 5-year-old for Nicky Henderson does everything wrong, and finally penny dropped last day under Barrigarity at Kempton. I think 140 is going to be a million miles off where that one ends up. So if A1, it looks like this has been a little bit of a plan, hopefully, to get it together. But the JP McManus horses, the Willie Mullins one, CLD and Edge that you mentioned, we got to give a shout to Did They Leave You Out Too, who's in here after a wind up, Deva.
Yeah, we'll have to give have to have a small each way in him, Dean. He's a hard horse to properly row in behind, but if he ever gets back to anything like that form of beating Thomas Darby, he's thrown it.
Yeah, 132. Fascinating. You can make a case for plenty in here, and whatever wins it will be all eyes on Cheltenham in a big way. Let's just cover Not So Sleepy before we do kick the kind of weekend preview into touch. Would you have it on your mind for a champion hurdle if it wins this?
No, not particularly. I think it's he's a very nice horse. It is the kind of year where you are right to kind of make a punt like this, but I just no, I don't see it at all.
If you do have it on your mind for a champion header, has to win this day.
Has to win this, yeah. Like it's been raised to go to £20 anyway from its last run. Won its last handicap of 127. It's 144 now. So you'd expect it to win and win well off 144. If
he's not guaranteed to run, isn't he, as well?
No, they're kind of making noises over the last 24 hours that they might not run. Depends on the ground and whatever. But like he's a good horse. He's an admirable horse. He's won over 180 grand in prize money already. So I can't see him getting a soft lead here. Maybe you can, but if the only basis you can back him in the champion hurdle is if there's no pace, he gets an easy lead and he doesn't come back.
And Petit Mouchoir won't allow that to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. Champion hurdle is going to be much different than running around Ascot off 127 and handicap.
It's going to be pretty different, yeah.
Fingers crossed.
I'm not on the train, but hard to know what the ceiling is.
I backed him the last twice, and I kind of.
You're now off the train.
Yeah, I'm off the train. Yeah.
Well, at least you got on it.
Yeah.
I never got on.
He's gone to the wedding. He doesn't want to go to the funeral now, which is fair enough.
I've been to enough funerals.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's have a nap off you then for the weekend. Dem, I'll go with you.
Mac the Man for the Bedford hurdle.
Okay, Dave.
Cat Poli in the 3:15 at Warwick.
Okay. Can I go against you, Demo? Yeah.
Well, you most certainly can, Dean.
Never adapt. We'll win, and we'll win nicely.
Non-runner now. What run? Go on, yeah.
Well, I take that. Got to protect the record somehow. Yeah. Latest exhibition getting it done for us last week, although I think I gave 3. So, I take that. Okay, let's take a break. When we come back, we're doing the Cheltenham preview round on this week's Racehour podcast. We're looking at the Arkle, the Marsh, the RSA, and the 3 Mile Sixer.
Don't delay. Head over to bookmakers.co.uk today.
Okay, welcome back to the final part of this week's Racehour podcast, brought to you with our friends at bookmakers.co.uk. It's David Weldon, Diarmuid Nolan, and myself, Dean Ryan. We're going to have a look at some of the novice chasers at Cheltenham. We're going to kick off with the Arkle. We did talk about it a little bit earlier on in the podcast, if you were paying attention, of course, because we discussed the likes of Notebook. Notebook is the 3-1 favourite. Fakir Dadaris, who we didn't see at the DRF, is a 6-1 chance. Cashbacks come right into the betting now at 7-1. Likes of Brewing Up a Storm, Global Citizen, Esprit de Large, they're all double figures. I've already gone on record as saying I'm going to take on Notebook, certainly at those prices. Whether I take him on with one of the top 3 is unlikely, but Dem, I'll let you have first go.
It's a confusing old race now. Notebook as much as you have to love what he's done so far, and he's the one to beat by a country mile in this race, obviously. 3-1 is still quite appealing in that he probably should be a shorter price than what he's done compared to everything else in the field, really. I think he should be. I don't see what else there is, but I'm still happy to take him on, obviously. Anyway, I just don't think Fakir Duduri will turn that form around. I love Cashback. I think there is improvement left in him, but I'm not sure whether he can turn around with Notebook either. And just his mental propensity to boil over as well is something that would have to worry you at Presby Park of all races. And I like Global Citizen. I think Mr. Fisher will end up going up and trip. There's not that many really here in the market, so the two that I kind of am looking at the minute are Esprit du Large and Bruno Pastorm. Bruno Pastorm has Cheltenham experience. Ollie Murphy is banging winners all year long, and he'll have his chance. And Esprit du Large, obviously, as I said, was brilliant at Sandown. So it's a race, Dean, that I won't be getting overly excited about until today. I have backed Cashback at bigger odds each way, but if a gun was put to my head at this moment, it would be Bruno Pastorm.
Okay. Yeah, I really like Bruno Pastorm for this based on what seems to be the trend that I like to follow in it. And I know you're not a big fan of it, Demo, but Notebook's hurdle rating wouldn't win an Arkle, whereas Bruno Pastorm's rating would put it bang in the mix in an Arkle, put Al Dancer in that picture, put Global Citizen in that picture. The others I'm struggling with, and it's hard to know that Ollie will even go there with Bruno Pastorm, because so far it's all been talking about going up maybe for the Marsh. But I think if I was Ollie, I'd roll the dice there. I'd also roll the dice with Al Dancer and Global Citizen. You imagine will go there, Dave?
You'd imagine he will. He's Max Bean's an out and out 2 miler, so I'd say he'd go there. As I mentioned earlier on in the kind of anti-weekend preview, Precious Cargo for me, I hope he wins this weekend, and he'll go on then, and he should be close to favourite if he wins the Kingmaker.
Close to favourite for an Arkle?
Yeah.
What price is he now for an Arkle?
He's 25-1.
Would you think after winning that race that
if he won it well, like if he won it by if he wins by a head, obviously not, he'll cut to 16s or whatever, like, but if he wins it well, he comes out, which I think he is that kind of horse that has that potential to go and destroy a field. I just think he's overpriced. It's a very funny race. Like, you have the Notebook form line is basically the front three in the market, and the rest are nowhere really in the market. Bruno Pastorm, yes, he was a good hurdler and ran well last year at the festival, but he's won a race around Taunton and a race at 1-2. That form isn't good enough to win an Arkle. And then you've Esprit du Large, we haven't seen since he won the Grade 1 race at Sandown. So is there something after going wrong with him, or are they just keeping him in mind for Cheltenham? I don't think Evan Williams really has a great record at Cheltenham either. And he's still, everyone is banging the winners. You'd imagine he would have been out for a stepping stone.
They did mention post race that they were going to keep him fresh, didn't they?
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay. It looks a below par Arkle to me based on what we've seen so far.
Yeah, so all, as you say about Precious Cargo, Dave, it's a fair shout, because if those front three don't turn out to be what we think they are, it's anyone's race. Yeah.
It's a wide open race.
It's very easy to forget that only less than a week ago we were talking about Bapome coming forward and being an Arkle horse based on.
Thank God we did say here he was the definition of a hipster horse, and he's proven that as well.
Yeah, but like Willie Mullins has got Mellon and Bapome in there, and it's Willie Mullins in their 20s and 25s in what looks a winnable Arkle.
If you took Mellon's Cheltenham form standalone, he'd win this.
Yeah, it's just he's probably going up and trip now, isn't he? It's just,
I would want to see him in a Marsh, but if he did run in there, it'd have to be on the list. Like, I'm literally going to cross off the top few based on nonsense trends.
Have you ever seen a Cheltenham festival like this though, where just there's so much?
It feels different. Yeah,
I think it's the ground. The ground's been kind of right all year for him to run, so most people have gotten a couple of runs in. Whereas last year, you're kind of, I guess
it's dark maybe or something. It's very like, if we get a deluge of rain now, which could well happen, because March, that seems to be happening lately.
Or snow.
What's your form? Where's the form then? Where are you looking even? And it's a very, very hard Cheltenham festival.
If Al Dancer ran in that, I'd definitely back it. I think there's so much more in the tank there that they haven't got out from riding tactics.
Well, then you would definitely put the kettle on. So
I wouldn't.
If Al Dancer ran at Lake Town, you'd back it.
I think Al Dancer has never done anything bar win a Betfair hurdle where he was far too well handicapped to do it.
Yeah.
I think bar that,
he did what he should have done.
He's beaten a horse that you have abused always in Getaway Trump. That's all he's done over fences.
Did that.
He's been beaten by Mr. Fisher.
Should have beat Mr. Fisher though.
I think he's a massively overrated horse.
Should have beat Mr. Fisher.
Yeah, Mr. Fisher, who was where 10th in a Supreme last year, in a poor Supreme.
Yeah.
It's not. It's I can't have him for a month of Sundays, and I hope I'm wrong, Dean, because I hope you make money.
No, well, I
think, really don't.
I think Al Dancer win the Grand Annual. So don't run in any of this stuff that we're talking about now, and go straight to the Grand Annual and show them who's boss, Nigel, because that's the job. Okay, the Marsh then, kind of a natural follow-on. Faugheen is in the betting, but I think we've all kind of come to the conclusion that we prefer Faugheen stayed home and dotted up in an Irish festival after Cheltenham. But if they did go there, obviously Faugheen would take some stopping if he was A1. Itchy Feet put himself in the picture at the weekend. Mr. Fisher is a shorter price for this than the Arkle, considering the kind of trip they want to go for. I think you can rule out the likes of Allaho turning up in a Marsh, but I could be wrong. Easy Game, who ran in behind Faugheen there at the weekend. Fakir the Dairy if they go up and trip. And then, well, we don't know what to say about Sam Crow. Black Op Classical Dream is definitely not going. Reserve Tank was the one that I was kind of thinking about as
if the ground came good,
a flyer for this potentially, because that back form is seriously good.
Yeah, it's just whether or not he needs the ground to come good for him, because he couldn't jump out on heavy ground. I would be all over Allaho were he to run here. I don't like him for an RSA because I don't think he stays the 3 miles. I mean, that Indo bumped into him over 3 miles last year twice, and Allaho looked the winner for all intents and purposes until that final stretch where Indo just kind of powered away from him. I would adore him here. I think a 10-1. I think especially now that Willie Mullins has had Lorena's flop for him. Mellon doesn't look the same horse this season either. So Willie Mullins isn't all that stacked in the novice chasers department. He doesn't have anything for the Arkle really. So he doesn't have that many horses for it. That's one reason why Faugheen could end up making the trip really. But Allaho would definitely be my horse here. I think a 10-1. He's a whopping bet, but he could end up going up to the RSA. So of the ones that I think will definitely run, I think Mr. Fisher at 7-1 is still, or sorry, not Mr. Fisher, Itchy Feet, sorry.
Yeah.
At 7-1. That was an absolutely unbelievable performance. Third last year, has Cheltenham Festival experience, and I think Itchy Feet is the one. But if there's any noises at all that he could end up here, I'll be all over.
Yeah, that's one where you'll be listening out. That's a horse that you have on your list for all the preview nights that are coming up. Like, please tell me where that's going to run, because we all kind of like it. We'd like to know what they're going to do with that. Dave Weldon.
Yeah, Allaho is my one as well, for all the reasons Dermo mentioned. I'd love to see him in here and going from the front and just go take them on and stay. He was very good the last day when he won, and he was good behind Easy Game as well when he probably needed to run more so than Easy Game. He would have had a run previous. In fairness, I like Itchy Feet. Mr. Fisher is a good horse. I could see him taking this. Sam Crow, I'd love them to open up Sam Crow and just see what's going on in there. Like, why does he not see out his races? Because he does everything else. He jumps, he travels, and all that, and then just doesn't see out from the second last home.
He's the kind that could go off 20-1 and it just clicks.
Yeah, he just drop right in the day.
It just happens.
Yep. I was hoping they'd enter Fakir the Dairy in this race, because I think he'd be a player stepping up one trip, but I just checked there and he's not in the entries. So Allaho really is my only one for this.
Okay, 2 shots for Allaho. I'm very undecided. I need to see the field, to be honest. I wouldn't back Sam Crow in it unless it was, as you say, Dermo, 20 odds. I think the race that we're about to talk about, which is the RSA, is where they have to run Sam Crow. But will they? That's the question, Dermo.
It's hard to know. I think with the way that he's been running all year, I doubt they'll kind of put him through that. I just don't really know whether they kind of know what to do with him. He really let them down at Christmas time, and he just seems to come in and out of form so quickly, because the performance at Down Royal, he did run to the line that day. He obviously a really easy win against a substandard lot of horses, but he kicked him in the touch and he looked like he was back. He took up the running, which he never does, and all that sort of stuff, and then at Christmas time just really let them down again. So it's hard to know where you'd even stand with him. Battle Over Dying was beaten by Faugheen, but I wouldn't particularly just give up on him completely yet. He looked like a big boy on good ground that just maybe didn't enjoy it at all. The trip was kind of plenty short for him as well. He was just beaten coming to the last. It wasn't even that he was
it was a tired
pace. He just looked knackered. So I just think the whole thing, we actually spoke about it for the race, Dean. He ran a good ground over Christmas and he kind of got away with it but they remember that, and he looked to me like a horse that turning in on that ground remembered what had happened at Christmas time, and he was clearly sore after it. He's a huge horse, so
He jumped great until the fall.
Yeah,
so
so
he jumped lovely.
if the ground comes up heavy, he'll only continue to drift now, because people will call him all sorts of names at preview nights and everything else. So he could end up being a big price for the RSA if they go, especially on heavy ground. I think he will be a very good price. But the one for win purposes now, I've been talking about the two of them all year. It was Battle Over Die until last Sunday, but it's now Nella Indo, who I just think takes the world of stop and can't have champ for a month of Sundays. As I've said time and time again, he jumps like a table, and I think Nella Indo takes a lot of stopping here.
Yeah, there's enough question marks around Champ for me to take it on at 7-2. It could definitely win an RSA, but I'd have to take it on. Manila Indo is the obvious one for me. Battle Over Doyen, I'm done probably with that one, but if it goes off a whopping price, you'd always be interested. And I like Sam Crow, but I don't expect you to agree, Dave.
No, I don't agree with most of that. Sure, they need to get another run into Manila Indo.
They won't. Last year came in with a very, very similar form, and he'll jump fences at home. He'll jump out
It ran
40 a day. So
it ran over 3 miles in February last year and hasn't run since middle of January now. And like the run behind the arena looks poor now, and it won't beat Captain CJ in a beginner's chase. Like that form is not good enough to place
I don't
in
think
it.
the form was good enough last year coming into Cheltenham either. We're going to get beat by Allaho. Could face Allaho again here.
Yeah, so like
it looks an obvious one.
He's an obvious one.
The
Who'll
Bromhead,
stay
Cheltenham
going.
form looks obvious.
I understand all that, but he wouldn't be on my radar at 6-1.
Yeah, it does seem a bit short right now.
He was 50-1 last year with the same kind of form profile in an Albert Bartlett, and he won that.
I think he went on and won and a grade one afterwards. He's a horse that they don't seem to want to get an awful lot of runs into him, and in fairness to the likes of Captain CJ, you've got the likes of carefully selected form there as well. So look, he's a big lazy oak who I think could have won by a lot further, but at the prices I do take your point.
This is where I think Allaho will go.
I don't think he's good. I just don't think he stays the 3 miles. I think he'll touch. I think he'd be in running late, to be honest.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, I think easy game runs here, and that's with his horse. Like,
It looked to stay in
he looked
performance
the
in
same
the
performance
Flowgas
there, and he
anyway.
did the same when he beat Hallihoe in Beginner's Chase at Christmas as well.
Yeah.
I think you have to have Slate House on side this year. He kind of has that profile of a really tough 3 mile horse that might just outstay them here. I know he was found out last day against the big boys, but he's back.
I'd love to see him win because that would just Frank Santini all day long.
Yeah, exactly. And I think another one you have to have inside is Pim, who's done nothing wrong this year and has shown form around Cheltenham. They're two at like 20-1 plus that you kind of have to on side. I don't like the top of the market here at all. Obviously I like Allaho, but I hope he runs in the Marsh. Battle Over Dying, I take your point that he could become a decent bet if his price drifts out a bit more. I think Davey tried to make just too much use from the last day and just try and run the sting out of everyone else because he knew he wanted further.
He jumps so well for a huge horse.
He jumps so well as well. And then Danny Wisbang as well. Like if you like Reserve Tank, you have to like him. And forgive him his last run because he looked super that day. He
looks the 4 mile for him, doesn't it? For some reason,
probably. Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't read any posting like that. But like 33-1, he could have a flyer. And Master Tommy Tucker as well. I know they loved him when he won that Beginner's Chase at Kempton over 2 mile 2.
Yeah.
But he subsequently let down the form behind Slate House in the chaos there. But yeah, it's a wide open renewal.
Yeah, I don't see any ricks in these markets.
No.
We've gone through 3 of the races there, and we've got the 3 mile 6 of the National Hunt Chase to come. And I'm not seeing ricks. I'm seeing if you know where they're going to go, you might get value. But it's so much guessing. If you're going to go non-runner, no bet, you're leaving behind bigger prices. And so it's a very tricky situation. Let's talk about that National Hunt Chase. Carefully selected. I think the Racehour is against Carefully Selected winning the National Hunt Chase. But Dave, I've got to ask you what you think about Carefully Selected.
I don't think he's good enough. I don't think he jumps well enough. There's a mistake in him, and he's going to be found out. He probably, the last day he was ridden from the front, he probably doesn't want that either. He probably wants to lead, and he probably was tossing a bit in front. And he, in fairness to him, he came back and won it well in the end. So you can give him that. But I couldn't have him on my radar really. Like Paddy Wright. Paddy doesn't have a great record in race. He's won it twice, but apart from that, like he won it with Raf Vinden and back in focus.
Yeah.
So like they were 2 good horses. He probably shouldn't have been running the race in the first place. is carefully selected that quality. I don't think so. Champagne Classic is the one I backed to start of the year. I'm getting a bit worried now that we haven't seen him again since, because he'd want a bit of fitness in him going to the race, and he missed the festival last year because he had a setback. So I just wonder has something gone wrong there. But his form,
fives now, you're going to wait and see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like his form is stacked up with Disco Ram and stuff like that. So I think he has all the potential in the world to go on and win this. And apart from that, it's not really a race I've given much thought to, because I thought I had the winner months ago.
Yeah, you're sticking to your guns for now. We'll see where we end up with it. Demo.
Champagne Classic, that was always the plan. I think just get the run of Christmas and go here fresh. Gordon, Willie, Henry de Bromhead, they all seem to have the exact same thoughts now. That you just get the runs into them and just kind of keep them as fresh. These trainers are so good now at getting horses so fit at home that it just doesn't. You don't need to get the same amount of runs into them. Anyway, First Approach was the one that I actually really like here. Completely contrary to what Dave thinks about the Captain CJ form with Ting. I actually think that's quite strong. And Manila Indo, First Approach stayed with him for an awful lot of that race before tiring. That was his first run for nearly 300 days. It's 25 to 1 here for this. The one caveat is that he does need to get another run into him, and he will be lacking in the experience function here. But the front of that market is Champagne Classic. He mightn't stay. Carefully selected won't jump. Danny Whizbang, I don't think he'll stay either. So this could have a real turn up here. And I think First Approach, the way he ran the last day and the way all his novice hurdles went, he's been in some really good races. He's always just looked a real dour stayer. This race will bring out the absolute best in him, but he does need to run once more.
Okay. With decent price right now, you're going to get another spin into it, I'd say. Again, this is another race where I go, if I knew Battle Over Dorian was running, if I knew Allaho was going to run, if I knew Danny Whizbang was going to run, I could make cases. I don't know. And so it's very tricky. I might do something that falls flat on its face when we get to Cheltenham, right? So compose yourself.
Please do.
But we did the Arkle, the Marsh, the RSA, and the 3 mile 6 of the National Hunt Chase. I want one horse in each in a row. So I want you to say Arkle horse, Marsh horse, RSA horse, and then the National Hunt Chase horse.
For the Arkle, Brewing Up a Storm at 10 to 1, Dean. For the March, I would be saying at the moment Allaho at 10 to 1. For the RSA Chase, Nell Indo, who would rank as my nap of all of the novice chases. And then for the 3 mile 6er, the National Hunt Chase, I will be saying First Approach at 25 to 1 each way.
Thank you. Dave?
For the Arkle, Precious Cargo at 25 to 1, Allaho for the Marsh, Sleigh House for the RSA, and Champagne Classic for the 3 mile 6.
Lovely. Okay. I've got Brewing Up a Storm for the Arkle. For the Marsh, I'm going to go with Melon. For the RSA, I'm going to go with Allaho. And for the 4 miler, I'm going to go with Champagne Classic. And that's the end of the pod, chaps. So thanks for listening to the Race Hour, brought to you with bookmakers.co.uk. Best of luck this weekend. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back next week. Diarmuid Nolan, Dave Weldon, myself, Dean Ryan, and the Italian stallion, the producer Alex. Thank you very much.
You've been listening to The Race Hour, brought to you by bookmakers.co.uk, your best bet for tips, news and bookmaker reviews.